The future of the PS4 looks to be a promising one, filled with big games with big names. And whilst I'd love to sit here and talk about those big releases, today I want to focus on some of the games that you may not have on your radar, but you definitely should. I'm not saying no one's excited for these games, I just want to make sure that they get the attention I feel that they deserve. But with that said, let's get into this. Metro Exodus is the third installment in the Metro series. It's been 4 years since the last game in the franchise, but Exodus looks like it could be well worth the wait. It's a first-person shooter set in a post-apocalyptic environment. Now, I understand that might sound like a pretty generic premise, but what sounds interesting to me is how Exodus is going to have a mixture of linear levels and sandbox environments, both of which will be affected by the change of seasons. You see, the story takes place over the course of a year, so as time progresses, so will the weather. It'll have a drastic impact on the level design, meaning your encounters with enemies will differ depending on the season. I think we need more shooters that can benefit from linearity but still allow for experimentation through gameplay, and the mix-up of both open and linear levels with changing environments could offer that. If Metro Exodus can retain the quality of its predecessors and successfully integrate some new ideas, then I think this will be a game well worth your time. Ni no Kuni 2: The Revenant Kingdom is the sequel to one of my favourite RPGs on the PlayStation 3, Ni no Kuni: Wrath of the White Witch. The story is almost completely unrelated to the first game, meaning you don't have to have played Wrath of the White Witch, so you can jump straight into this one. And if this story of reclaiming your kingdom is anything like the previous game in its writing or storytelling, then be prepared for an incredibly emotional journey. Open world has become somewhat of a dirty video game term this generation, seeing as so many developers are making these types of games. However, I think that's largely due to so many open world games taking the Ubisoft approach in design and structure, offering a checklist of content rather than anything meaningful to play through. Ni no Kuni 2 is placing an emphasis on combat and exploration instead of overloading the player with pointless side objectives, which means the real draw is through gameplay, which is important for a game in this genre. The first game sold respectable numbers, however it could have been so much more popular if people actually knew about it. So I don't want to see the same thing happen with this sequel. Considering you don't have to have played the previous game, I think now is the right time to introduce yourself to the series. Ni no Kuni 2: The Revenant Kingdom looks to retain the high standard of storytelling that made the previous game so special. Its music and visual art style look absolutely beautiful too. If you're even remotely interested in this game, I highly recommend picking it up when it releases on January 19th, 2018. Monster Hunter is a series of action games with some RPG elements. The series' main draw is, as the title suggests, hunting monsters. These monsters come in various shapes and sizes with all sorts of different attack and movement patterns that you'll have to study if you want to take them down. Monster Hunter World is the newest installment in the franchise, and the reason I'd recommend picking it up is because from everything we know right now, it looks to be fixing all of the problems that have plagued the series for the last decade. You see, Monster Hunter has always had a hard time with introducing new players to the franchise because of the steep learning curve and generally unappealing visuals. However, now the series has received a significant visual upgrade, and much needed information on the 14 weapon types is now documented in the game. Add to that the quality of life improvements like seamless use of items and traversal between locations, no more underwater battles, and the ability to hunt with players worldwide rather than per region. Not to mention that this game is completely pro-consumer, offering continuous free DLC and updates over time, which is the type of behaviour that deserves to be supported, especially when you consider the current state of the gaming industry. I can't stress enough how much I adore Monster Hunter. I've been a fan of the series ever since the original on PlayStation 2 back in 2004. It's a series that always seems to struggle in the West, which is such a shame because it's this huge thing over in Japan. Monster Hunter World is looking to be one of, if not the best entry into the series, and again, if you're remotely interested in it, then you should definitely pick it up. And if you're on the fence, well, at least give it a try when it releases on January 26th, 2018. So there you go, those are just a few games coming out in 2018 that I think you should keep an eye on. I could have made a list on the games everyone's looking forward to, you know, Spider-Man, The Last of Us, etc. But I think with so many big releases coming out next year, a lot of games are gonna get overlooked. A lot of games that I think deserve just as much attention as most of the bigger titles. So if for whatever reason after watching this video you're interested in any of these games, let us know. And if you're not, then what games are you looking forward to next year? If you enjoyed the video, then a like would be hugely appreciated. If you're new here, then don't forget to subscribe, and if you want to support us over on Patreon, then the link for that will be in the description box below. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again soon.